Hi everyone, welcome to this week's video. I'm here in New South Wales, Australia, and I'm about to do a garden harvest before the storm hits. Now I can tell there's one on the way, at least I could earlier on, because most of my neighbours had their mowers out cutting the grass, which is a really big telltale sign here. Anyway, let's go grab a secateurs or knife and get this basket nice and full. We'll start off over here with this cabbage. You can tell when a cabbage is ready to harvest when it has quite a dense, firm head like this one here. It's a bit obvious. Well, I don't know why I'm pointing out, you can see it, but look at the state of these leaves. It's a caterpillar of these cabbage white butterflies that's probably made all of those holes. Once they get into some cabbage leaves, they can go on a full-on attack. I think it's a bit of wishful thinking, but I'll see if I can just snap off the head of cabbage. Oh wow, actually, ooh, did I do a good job? Oh, gross. Look at in there. Oh my goodness. Well, I got it off, so that's not too bad. That was easy enough. Look at that. It looks like something's munched through the layers of leaves. I hope they haven't tunneled a bit too deep and I don't find any surprises when I cut this open, but we'll see. Oh wow, maybe I left it a bit too late to be doing this harvest. Where has the wind come from? The storm's not meant to be coming for another couple of hours. It seems to have calmed down a bit, so hopefully that was just a bit of a false alarm and I've got a bit more time out here before it starts to pour. This is the cabbage I just harvested. Now, something interesting, at least I think it is, the plant beside it was also a cabbage plant, but it never ended up forming a head. It just started to stretch out and it's starting to bolt, form flowers and seeds. And it's just fascinating to me that you can have two of the same similar plants in the one bed with similar conditions with the watering and the sunlight, but yet one of them, you know, matures and the other one struggles. And I guess, you know, I was looking into it and you can actually get a bit of variety in a seed packet, so you have your similar cabbage seeds, but you can have some seeds that just aren't as genetically strong, and this can happen to them. It was one of you guys in the comments that taught me this. If you leave this part of the cabbage in the ground after you've harvested the main head, what can happen is little smaller heads can begin to form around the stem and the leaves, like in here in this section. Now unfortunately I'm not going to be able to try this out this year because I really need this garden bed to pop in my new plants that I purchased. So I'm going to try and clear out these two beds. Unfortunately that means I'm going to have to pull out these Icelandic poppies, but otherwise there's not much more going on. I did have a couple of Brussels sprout plants which didn't really eventuate to anything. I've got some broccoli, I think, oh I can't even remember, that's going to flower. I do have in the back row, I've got some sweet peas, and actually some of them are starting to flower. I'm going to leave them in. Here's the first two flowers and you can smell them when you walk by this area. They're absolutely magnificent. I love sweet peas. You always have to be careful with the pods of the sweet peas because they're not edible, they're actually toxic. So I always try and grow my sweet peas far away from my other edible variety peas like snow peas. With these pods looking so similar, I think it's really important, if you have kids who love to snack out in the garden, you really need to plant these sweet peas far away from those edible pea crops. Right, let's put this cabbage in here and we'll grab some fennel. But actually, one thing I wanted to show you, which is so weird, it looks so strange. I've got some marigold plants, right? Look at that. They've been completely stripped, I reckon, by the slugs and snails. So it's literally a single stem with a bloom on top. I don't think this will have much chance of growing very well if I leave the flower on there, because the plant will be putting all the energy into producing seeds. So what I reckon I'm going to do is just pinch off this flower and hope for the best with the stem. Do you reckon it will re-sprout? Maybe. Next up, we're going to harvest some fennel. I'm going to pick this one, which is pretty large. I might just see if I can pull it out, which I know a lot of people don't like when I pull plants out because I disrupt the microorganisms below ground, and it is better to leave the roots in there. so that they can feed off them, and I don't really want to be pulling them out, but it is what it is. I'm just going to do it today. Now that's a decent fennel, and when I was pulling it out I noticed that there were parts of it like there and over here that had gone a bit mushy, but in general it's looking pretty good. I'll just cut those parts off. Something I always say here, I'm always cutting off the bad bits, because when you organic garden it's never as perfect as what you see in the supermarket, but it will taste good. Can I ask you a question? Anyone who's grown fennel before? Now something's come up in my comment section, and I have seen other videos about it where people are saying you shouldn't grow fennel near any other plant or most plants because it can inhibit their growth. And look at this, like I just really don't think it's the case here in my garden. I mean, look at it, that's the Jerusalem artichoke. It must have grown a couple of foot since I showed you last. And then over there I've got loads of rainbow chard, which is super healthy, and then over there it is being drowned out, but that's some broccoli. Now I don't know, like, am I doing something different here that the other plants aren't being affected? Maybe it's the plant choice. I would just love to know what you guys reckon with your gardening experience. I'm also going to harvest this broccoli, which I left way too long. Unfortunately, like in there it's looking a bit brown, so I may end up using the stem, because the stem is quite long and I do like the taste of broccoli stems. I'm not 100% sure about the top bit. It just got away with me. It was looking lovely a couple of weeks ago and I should have really picked it then. Yep, this centerpiece here, I gave it a whiff and it's really stinky, and when I put my hand in here it feels so squishy and almost slimy. Oh, I can smell it now. I think I made it worse. I've given it a big hack and this is all that remains, so we'll see what I come up with cooking this. Here's a better look at that rainbow chard. Like, to me that seems super healthy, super mature, and it doesn't seem to be affected at all by the 6 fennel plants I have growing in the same bed. Look at that. I might pick some of these leaves too actually. I'll figure out what to do with it when I bring them all inside. I don't think that basket I got is big enough. I've just been chucking everything here on the ground. I'll sort it out later. The last thing I'm going to pick are some leeks. Now they aren't super big. Are these leeks? Oh, let me have a smell. Oh, I think they're spring onions. I might have got mixed up there. Anyway, oh no, they're leeks. I can tell by the broad leaf on them. Super small, but we'll pick a couple of them. I kind of need this bed back anyway. Actually, we'll pick 3 because I want to put some of my seedlings in here for my cut flower business. So out you come, and I'll use these up as well. After a bit of chopping and tidying up, I've managed to fit everything into the basket. This is today's harvest. I've just popped over to the container garden to grab one of these spring onions to show you how different they look compared to a small leek. This one's the spring onion. Here's the leek, and you can see how I was getting a bit confused, because when the leeks are smaller they can look very similar to a spring onion. Like, it'd be hard to tell the difference. Well, I'd find it difficult at least, but what gives it away is the foliage on top. So here with the leek you can see it's quite a broad leaf, flat, but with the spring onions they're more like tubular. You can see like that. Yeah, very different. Same kind of green color, smaller here with the spring onion. And of course, as the leek gets larger, it's much easier to distinguish between the both of these. But when they are small, it is still a little bit tricky, and it can confuse people, especially me sometimes. After a bit of chopping and tidying up, I've managed to fit everything into the basket. This is today's harvest. I've decided I'm going to make some frittatas, and what I'll do is I'll put them in a muffin tin, so there'll be individual portions that will be easy to grab out from the freezer or just on the go. Now this is what the inside of the cabbage looked like. Remember, I was a bit nervous to see. Well, it was justified because there was loads of slugs in there, and all the slug and snail poop was pretty much on every single leaf, so I had to give that a good clean. And what you're looking at here is the only part of the broccoli stem that I'm able to use, because the rest of this stem is rock solid. Couldn't even cut it with this sharp knife, so that will have to be discarded into the compost. And then the fennel was pretty good, but I did find a surprise in there too. This little guy. After a lot of washing and chopping, here's the veg that I'm left with. So I started off by sauteing the leeks with some garlic for a few minutes. Then I just added in all the chopped vegetables and let that reduce down. It's really important when you're making fatatas. Well, in my experience, you need to have the vegetables really, I don't know what the right word is, it's not dehydrated, but reduced, because you don't want the fatatas being soggy. So here I've just got some eggs and cream with some salt and pepper. I'm dividing up the vegetable mix into the individual little cells here. Then I pour in the egg mixture. Oh, and what else? I want to top it with something. I usually top it with maybe some feta or just some regular cheese, like here, cheddar. And that just really helps make the top of the muffins look lovely and golden. Adds a nice colour rather than it being pale. What I love about this dish is it's very versatile. You just use up whatever vegetables you've got, whether you've grown them in your garden or whether you just have them in the fridge left over. Oh, it was so good, delicious. I'm so glad I got those made. It'll be something easy to grab from the fridge over the weekend. Now, before I head off, I just wanted to show you this gorgeous plant, Acanthus smallis, or some people know it as the oyster plant. It is looking magnificent, and I really wanted to add it into this video, as well as the poppies. They're not looking great now, they've gone a bit over, but last week they were magnificent. A beautiful big row of these big fluffy blooms. Well, that's it everyone. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you again next Friday.